resource person for Learn to Upgrade. It's a platform where so many students, faculties, and professionals learn a lot through certain online and offline sessions. And as per the plan, today we are going to talk about a very important topic. I guess I was told it is a quick revision session and a career oriented session that has to be taken. So I have planned the whole presentation according to that only. That is on pharmacovigilance, materiovigilance, the multidisciplinary approach for the drug and medical safety in patient care, as well as we'll also be talking about the career options in this specific field. So, starting with a very important question that is very important for all of us, right? That is, are medicines always safe? It's a very important question. Whenever it comes to our mind, either you're planning a treatment, either you or any of your family member, they they are maybe infected by any specific virus or bacteria, maybe there is any disorder, maybe there is any disease, or maybe the person is diagnosed with any kind of syndrome. So the very first question comes in their mind or in our mind whenever we plan the treatment, that are the medicines always safe, or whatever medicine this doctor or this clinician or this pharmacist is going to suggest me or prescribe me, is it really safe? Is it going to save life of my patient? Or maybe this medication will be effective enough that this particular disease or disorder will be cured? So that remains a question in everybody's mind. And either it's me, either it's you, or any of us. We have this question, which sooner or later comes in our mind, right? So, in relevance with that, so many things are there, because when it comes to the safety, the medication safety, it's very important to understand that the medications are safe or not, right? So before talking to the core of pharmacovigilance and metrovigilance, we will first of all understand the safety of the medications for a quick revision, and then we will talk to the core of the topic, that is pharmacovigilance and metrovigilance, right? So before heading ahead, I just want to know that you all, I guess 11 participants have joined till now. So you all belong to the same field, pharma, or you are from the multiple fields like biotech or micro or any other field? You can write in the chat box so that I can know that to what field do you all belong to. Like, what's your field? You are pursuing masters or graduations uh, in the pharma field or biotech or micro? You can let me know. Okay, Hima. So you are pursuing pharmacovigilance itself. Great. Okay, Sriniti is pursuing B.Pharm second year. Great. Other participants, may I know what field you are pursuing currently? Okay. Okay, I'm pharmacy in pharmacology. Someone is from B.Pharm fourth year. Okay, okay. B.Pharm fourth year. Great. Nice. So I think most of you belong to this pharma field, right? And being in this field, it's very important for all of you to know that pharmacovigilance is itself, a field which is directly connected to the pharma people, as well as it is equally important for the people who belong to different background, either it's micro, either it's biotech, either it's a person from the mbbs md field, either it's any person is from the biotechnology field. How all these things are connected, because science is all about integration, And when we talk about the disease, when we talk about the disorders, we know that, the treatment strategies, the research, the diagnostics, it comes from the multiple fields. And so is this pharmacovigilance field, right? So, yeah, let's start with the basics and then we'll have a quick revision of all the things that are part of this one, right? So, when we first stated or question that are medicines always safe, it's very important to understand that no drug is 100% safe. That is a very important thing to answer, that no drug is 100% safe. And why we are saying or stating this particular things? Because every drug, every molecule in this world, it's either it's a complex molecule or it's a combined molecule, or any molecule in its own, we can say state, is never 100% safe for multiple people. It may be better, for example, it may be just any, medicinal plant. Even if you are having a neem, you just have a neem leaf, you crush it, you consume it, or you apply it on your skin. It will never give the exact correct result for each and everyone in this world. It may be good for 10 people, it may not be working for other 10 people, right? So, no compound, no molecule, or any biochemical, natural or synthesized, it's safe. That is, and drug is definitely, the extracted component or combination of certain different ingredients, we can say, or components which are making any specific kind of formulation to treat any kind of disease, or in the maybe is in the form of syrup, either it's as some kind of vaccine, either it's, any painkiller, maybe it's, a stimulant, maybe it's an analgesics, maybe it is any, neurosuppressor medications. It can be anything. We cannot state that it is 100% safe. And when we say that the drug is not 100% safe, then comes this adverse drug reaction. So when we say that the drug is not 100% safe, this particular point of the drug reaction comes. So this drug reaction can be normal, like it can be very mild, right? It can be none for any specific person, or it can be adverse. That means it can be lethal, or the person can be hospitalized if that particular drug is not working appropriately for any of the specific person, right? So when we state this line that it is not 100% safe, that means we are stating that this particular drug is causing any kind of noxious or, uninvited, or we can say non-required or lethal or any specific changes in the person, because that particular drug is supposed to treat the particular condition, but what it is actually doing, it is causing the change, the noxious change. That means it will now not work for the person, but it will work against that specific person, right? That means any noxious change, the which is suspected that it is because of any specific drug, that means any change, or you can say any particular condition in any specific person's body, which is, any unintended response or harmful response at a normal dose in any specific person, which may now further require any specific treatment or change in the doses of that particular drug, right? And if such condition occurs, there should be, any specific stated caution in the future use of that same drug. That particular condition is known as the adverse drug reaction. That means if any drug any person is taking, and that drug is, being given on the normal dose, that means the drug is being given on the dose that has been properly approved from the regulatory authorities. It has been, the permissions are there that okay, now this drug can be out in the market, the proper preliminary testings, the proper preclinical trial, the proper clinical trial has been done, and the drug is out in the post marketing surveillance phase, and the drug is now available for multiple people because it is now approved from the regulatory affairs. But even after having so much of trials and finally accepting that yes, this drug is appropriately perfect for delivering out and giving to certain patients for the treatment of the specific disease for which the drug has been formulated, even on that normal dose or that specific formulation, this drug is causing any noxious change, any harmful or unintended response is coming at the normal dose. That means if that response is coming, now this particular response has to be treated, or maybe the specific dose which is absolutely normal, which may work absolutely perfect for any one person or 10 persons or 1,000 people, it is working not normally for you, right, or for any xyz person. That means the dose, if it is the 50 milligram is the prescribed dose as per the approvals, and this 50 milligram of doses, doing bringing out harmful responses or any kind of adverse conditions in the person, that means this 50 milligram may need require the dose decreasal, or maybe we have to withdraw the medication immediately, right? That means this drug is not safe for that person to consume or use. That is your adverse drug reaction. And it can happen with any of the specific drug. It can be any drug in this world. Maybe you are absolutely perfect with the painkillers or the paracetamol, with the disprin, aspirins. Maybe you are doing perfect with these analgesics or stimulants. But maybe the third person out there in the world, they may have the immediate drug reaction even if they take the absolutely perfect dose of any kind of analgesics or stimulants or painkillers or antibiotics. So that is the adverse drug reactions. That means there can that is the statement which is justifying here that yes, drug is 100% safe, and yes, it is there. Every drug comes with the side effect. Whenever we are doing the clinical trials, we are going for the preclinical trials, we know that yes, this drug is having the specific particular conditions, that is it will be having some sort of side effects. But side effects are normal, they are known, because during the trials, the scientists, the researchers, they know that there will what is the pharmacodynamic property of the drug, what is the pharmacokinetic property of the drug, they know that, and they can state that okay, if this drug is being taken on this specific dose, this will be the side effect. Maybe there will be a slight headache, maybe there will be a slight nausea will be there, because that is a side effect. But if this side effect is not the actual response, there is something different which is coming out in the form of response, then that is your adverse drug reaction, right? And this adverse drug reaction causes the significant morbidity, the hospitalizations may increase, or the death rates can be increased. So your morbidity and mortality both can be affected because of the adverse drug reactions. So in the adverse drug reactions, we know that there can be some mild reactions. Maybe you feel nausea, maybe you feel some itching, rashes, or dosing kind of effects can be there. And once you withdraw the drug, you discontinue the drug, it will be normal. But in some cases, this adverse drug reaction can be highly lethal. The reactions can be absolutely on the larger scale. They can cause respiratory depressions, they can cause neutropenia, they can cause hepatocellular injuries, they can cause liver injuries, they can cause renal failures, kidney injuries, it can cause hemorrhages, they can cause the anaphylactic shock. That means, your complete body organ failures can occur within the minutes or within the seconds of having that particular drug dose consumed by the patient. So it can, if not treated or if not captured, the condition is not handled timely, it is absolutely lethal. And anaphylactic shocks are absolutely lethal. They're very dangerous, and they can be there in many cases, right? And if you go through the data and if you see it's in so many hospitals, many patients die because of the ADR, not because of the disease itself. And there remains a confusion between the patients and the other staffs that, the staff, the clinical staff, they try to elaborate that this is because of the ADR. And then the people start, discussing in many of the cases that the drug that, the patient, the doctor has given the wrong drug, the doctor should not have given this drug to the patient. But it's very difficult to make people understand that ADRs are actually there and ADR can actually happen. There's no fault of the clinician. There is no fault of the pharmacist. There is no fault of the clinical staff, the nursing staff. It is the body buildup of that particular person which has caused the ADR. And it's absolutely correct to state that your body, how your body is responding to any molecule which is coming to your body, that molecule which is going inside your body, maybe through the oral route or through the intravenous route or through the intramuscular route, right? That is your body responding to that particular molecule. Your body can accept it, your body can welcome that particular molecule, your body can cleanly reject that molecule, right? So it is up to your body buildup, it is inside your immune system, it is inside in your genetic system, it is inside your, completely, we can say, nervous system. So your body is responding to that particular, reactions. And majority of incidents of ADR, they occur because of polypharmacies. If a person is having more than 3 to 5 drugs, in the elderly people, in the children, then the patients with multiple diseases, pregnancy, in the malnourished, in the immunosuppressed people, or the drug abusers and addicts, because they use multiple kinds of same injections, multiple kinds of different doses of drugs they take, right? And the ADRs, they can develop immediately, they can be because of the prolonged medications, and once you end of use or after stopping the drug, these conditions can be there, right? If you talk about grading of severity of adverse drug reaction, so it ranges from minor, moderate, severe to lethal. That means in minor, you don't need any antidote or you don't need any therapy, right? Or, prolongation of hospitalization is not required. In moderate cases, maybe your drug therapies can be changed. Maybe, for example, if 50 mg of drug is being given, maybe it is reduced to 20 mg, right? And maybe for the treatment strategies, it is maybe, they can be specific treatment timing can be there. But in severe cases, it can be life threatening and it can cause the permanent damage. And intensive care is required in such cases. And that means if treatment is not given properly, it will cause the, death of the patient. It requires the immediate hospitalization and treatment. And if the proper medications and treatments are given, in that case, the person can even be saved. In the lethal condition, in the lethal grading, it directly or indirectly contributes to the death of the patient. It's very dangerous. And here you don't have time to even, properly hospitalize the patient. You don't have time to even keep the patient into the ICUs, right? It can be directly the death of the patient. So lethal and severe are one of the very dangerous conditions which occur because of the severity of the adverse drug reactions. And when you classify the ADR, it's a ABCDEF. It's augmented, it's bizarre, it's continuous, delayed, ending use, failure of efficacy. And why they are, graded or classified as ABCDEF? Because the reason is there. When we talk about the A augmented type, I will not go into more depth of everything because it's a revision session. So we'll just say, just, have a quick revision and discussion about, what are the ADRs for a quick remember, so that you can also remember and it will remind you of all these things that you've already studied. And we'll discuss about again what is pharmacovigilance and how the protocol, works for the people who are into this particular field, right? But for a quick review, the type A is for augmented. Augmented means it is common one, right? It is because of the pharmacological properties of the drug. Like it can be predicted. Like it's very common And majority of like 75 to 80% of ADRs are because of this. And why we are saying that this is because of the pharmacological property of the drug? Because when we talk about the pharmacological property, it we because majority of you are from this particular pharma field only, so you must be well knowing that when we talk about the properties of the drug or the pharmacological properties of the drug, it is basically, the science, like how the drugs are interacting with the body system, right? Like how your drug is working, or what effect it will produce, how the body will respond to that particular drug, right? So like under which the pharmacodynamics or your pharmacokinetics, your complete absorption, mechanism of action, metabolism, drug effects, everything comes under it. Therapeutic effects of the drug, adverse effect, everything comes under the pharmacological property. So every drug has some pharmacological action, like how the drug will work. Every drug has the pharmacological effect, like how, what are the effects produced by drug. Every drug has a pharmacological treatment, like treatment, like which kind of treatment can be done using this particular medication, right? But because every drug has the pharmacological properties, so sometimes what happens, these particular medications pharmacological properties can be counted as ADR. For example, that when ibuprofen is being taken, right? So in ibuprofen, it is basically used for the reducing the inflammation and pain. It is the pharmacological property of the drug. In some of the cases, it can be counted as a, you know, ADR. Why? For sometimes what happens, for example, if a patient is for the longer time on this particular ibuprofen, or it is continuously they're working for the pain and reduction of the inflammation, sometimes majority of other the disease conditions, they remain suppressed, right? And once long term use is there, this particular ibuprofen, it can cause, lots of different kinds of symptom arisal, and suppression of certain kinds of major symptoms. Or for example, anticoagulants are there. So when we talk about the anticoagulants, we all know that anticoagulants are given, basically for the people or for the treatments, to prevent the blood from clotting very easily, because basically they're not thinning the blood, but they're slowing down the clotting process, right? So we all know that anticoagulants are given to prevent or treat the conditions. Maybe it is deep vein thrombosis, or pulmonary embolism is there, or maybe strokes are there, like specifically like in cases of arterial fibrillations and all, right? So in that case, anticoagulant drugs are given, like heparins are there, warfarin, or aspirin is there, or your rivaroxaban is there, right? It is basically newer drug, and monitoring is continuously being done for that, right? But sometimes what happens, these, because we know that these drugs are kind of anticoagulants, they're slowing down the clotting process. So the pharmacological property is basically of the drug, that it is slowing down the clotting process. So it means if it is slowing down the clotting process, the blood will not clot. We all know that if there is any injury inside or outside of the body, our blood should clot so that there is no excessive bleeding, right? Loss of blood is not there. So for that, clotting is very important, right? But the anticoagulants have major side effects, that it causes bleeding or bruising is there easily. Nose bleeds or internal bleeds are very common when the patients are on the anticoagulants. So it is the pharmacological property, but it can cause the bleeding because it will slow down the clotting process. If there is any internal injury or external injury, the blood will not clot easily, which will cause major loss of blood. So that is the ADR, right? So that is counted as the augmented type of adverse drug reaction. So but it is common because it is already known, because we know that it is the pharmacological property of the drug, so we can count it as a side effect of the drug. So it is predictable, right? And it can be handled very easily. So that is the A type. In the B type, it's bizarre or unpredictable. It is very important to understand and know, because in bizarre or unpredictable type, this the dose of the drug or the pharmacological mechanism, pharmacological property of the drug, it does not has any relation. It can develop because of the immune response, It can be because of genetic predispositions, that is known as idiosyncratic reactions. Maybe the gene system, the genetic system involved in the drug metabolizations, maybe they are mutated, maybe their functionality due to the methylations in the epigenetic systems. It can be reason that your drug is not metabolized in the body. So there can be certain other conditions. So it can be because of immunological reactions on drug, maybe genetic predispositions, right? So in such cases, because it is unpredictable and bizarre, it, we don't know that it is going to happen. Or if I'm going to just take a paracetamol, maybe I will have a adverse drug reaction which is completely unpredictable, type B type, because of maybe my immune system, maybe because of my genetic predisposition. So it requires, hospital admissions, or it can be also lethal for me, right? Or any specific person. So it requires the immediate withdrawal of the drug, and immediate hospital care is required. Type C is for the chronic continuous use. So they're mostly associated with the cumulative long-term exposures. For example, sometimes when you are continuously using some kinds of medication, so long-term exposure to multiple kinds of medication, they may cause multiple kinds of, conditions like papillary sclerosis or necrosis or interstitial nephritis kind of conditions. They are there, and they're also predictable. Doctors know that if this multiple medications are given long term, these specific conditions can be there. Type D is the delayed type. So they manifest themselves with significant delay, like teratogenesis is there, like thalidomide, we will discuss later that how it happens and why it is very important. But sometimes when you are using some kinds of medication, it may not show the adverse reaction quickly or at that specific time, but maybe after 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, maybe after 6 months, 5 months, it will showcase the adverse drug reactions, right? Like tie-dye dyskinesis is there. It is during the treatment of Parkinson's disease. So this particular condition is detected when the patients are being treated for this specific Parkinson's disease. So when L-DOPA treatment is being given, right? And at that particular conditions, what happens, there is like involuntary or repetitive body movements start to happen when the patients are during the long-term medications like antipsychotic drugs. So L-DOPA conditions is basically during the treatments of the Parkinson's, right? So in that, smacking or puckering of lips is there, maybe tongue movements are there, like phrase grimacing and like conditions. Maybe the patient will be rapidly blinking, or maybe they're giving the jerky movements of arms or legs, right? So these symptoms are properly uncontrollable, and they may persist even after stopping the drug, right? So because when we are having the treatment, when the Parkinson's disease is being treated in the particular patient, so at that time what happens, uh, this particular uh, medications which are given, they block, generally they block the dopamine receptors, right? And when these dopamine receptors are blocked, they increase sensitivity of these receptors, and they give the abnormal movement signals, right? So that is why it is known as the delayed. That means some medications, they can give the delayed effects, side effects. Then E is the end of use. So sometimes when you withdraw any specific drugs, it will give the end of use adverse drug reactions. That means when you are on a long term therapy like beta blockers, right, or something, they will induce the rebound tachycardia. For example, a person is on the beta blocker since last 5 years. Once the person will stop the beta blocker, they may feel the heart palpitations, hypertensions, tachycardia. Their ECG will showcase the sinus rhythm, less tachycardia, right? Why? Because they're on the long term on a specific medications, which has somewhere hampered so many different signalings in the body, right? So that is end of use, right? So you know that these are categorized into side effects, secondary effect, toxic effects, intolerance, idiosyncrasy, drug allergy, photosensitivity, drug dependence, drug withdrawal reactions, teratogenicity. All these are, your ones. So there are so many things. Side effects are there, secondary effects, toxic effect, right? Your intolerance, idiosyncrasy, drug allergy. Your allergic reactions are different type, photosensitivity reactions are there, drug dependence are there, drug withdrawal reactions, teratogenicities, mutagenicities, and carcinogenicities are there, drug induced diseases are there, right? So because we know that all these conditions are there, right? So here comes the pharmacovigilance and the action, because we know that everybody knows that if the drugs are being like formulated, they even having the 10 to 5 years or 12 years or 13 years of rigorous research or trials and preclinical clinical trials. Even after having all these, uh, trials and proper strategies, even after that the drug is not 100% safe, right? So for that purpose the pharmacovigilance is there, right? This pharmacovigilance is doing what? This pharmacovigilance is doing the most important part. It is basically detecting, assessing, understanding, and preventing the adverse effect of the drug, right? That means this pharmacovigilance is the science and activity which is relating to the detection, that is known as DAUP, detection, assessment, understanding, and sorry. Fine. So that is the top. That means it is a science and activity which is relating to detection, assessment, and understanding and prevention of the adverse effect or any other drug related problems. That is the pharmacovigilance, right? Yeah. So, and the major aim of the pharmacovigilance, it is basically, to monitor and preserve the drug safety through various activities. Because during the clinical trial also, when the clinical trial is ongoing, see, it is one of the most crucial phase, right? That means if that particular medications are given, right, the trials are done on the specific volunteers, then also the clinical research organization has to be very active, vigilant, that the whatever drug doses we are giving to the human volunteers, it does not causes any ADR. And if it is being caused, it is causing any ADR, the quick treatments has to be given, right? So at that time, and once the drug is out in the market, right, the post marketing surveillance is being done, that for example in the clinical trial maybe 10,000 people were given the medications and maybe the drug is working fine, but once the drug is out in the market, there are lakhs and millions of people who will be having direct exposure to the drug when they will consume it for that specific disease treatments or condition treatments, right? So during the trials as well as the post marketing surveillance, the pharmacovigilance is playing a very important role to the monitor, to preserve the drug safety, like the pharmacovigilance team, the scientific team, they try to identify the risk which is caused by use of the medicinal product. They try to see the individuation of adverse reactions to each drug. They identify like the how the adverse drug reactions are related to certain factors like maybe age, sex, or pathology of the patient, right? Doses of the product. They try to see like if there is any new adverse reactions there or not. They try to study the safety profile of several drugs, right? They try to find out the choice of appropriate drug for the specific treatments, right? So that is the main aim of the pharmacovigilance. So earlier this pharmacovigilance was born in 1848, right, in the Great Britain, when certain clinical practices was done as by using chloroform as the anesthetizer, right? Because we all know that if you smell this chloroform, you will be unconscious. So for the anesthesia, the chloroform was being used. But because of the clinical practice of the chloroform, many deaths occurred. So the doctors reported the death, and because of this, the study was done, and then finally it was find out that because of this chloroform, so many deaths are being there, and this chloroform cannot be used further. Then further, a new liquid formulation was used, that was sulfanilamide. Again, that was drug reaction was seen. Then diethyl glycol was one of the major deg was one of the solvent which showed many adverse reactions, right? So because of this, when all of these things came into the market, so the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, FDA, it took action that the pharmaceutical company should ensure that whatever products they're launching in the market, right, or even if they are doing the clinical trial, they should ensure the safety of the drug even before placing it into the market, right? And once you have placed the drug in the market, still you have to have the surveillance, and you should be very vigilant. The thalidomide event was one of the very disaster. That is why it is known as thalidomide disaster, where the pregnant women were given this particular kind of drug, right, and to feel them nicer during the sickness. And because of this, so many fetus they death was there, and even the fetus which developed into the child, when they were born, the infants, they were having the congenital malformations, they were having the phocomelia, distorted limbs, conditions were there. So WHO played a very important role at that time, and they say that there should be international drug monitoring program should be there, and a proper council should be formed, that every drug should be tested properly even before release in the market and even after being released into the market, right? So based on that, certain typologies of pharmacovigilance was introduced, like active pharmacovigilance, passive pharmacovigilance, pharmacovigilance from the scientific literature, pharmacovigilance in the social media, right? Like active pharmacovigilance, where spontaneous reports from citizens are studied. Passive pharmacovigilance is there, like during the from the clinical trial phase, the data is collected, right? Pharmacovigilance from the scientific literatures, already published literatures are there, from which the literatures are collected, and based on that the decisions are taken, right? From the social media the data is collected. So likewise this pharmacovigilance works on. So during the pre-marketing also, that means when the drug is in the trial phase, and once the drug is out in the market, the pharmacovigilance works into the action, right? So in if you talk about the international center, collaborating center, it is in Uppsala Monitoring Center, Sweden. In India, it's in Ghaziabad, Rajnagar, Ghaziabad. And there are so many pharmacovigilance department in the medical college levels, tertiary and hospitals. And the reports can be generated by the doctors, paramedical staff, and the peripheral centers or the national centers, even the pharma people, even the layman, the housewives, or the people who are like us, they're working in colleges, jobs. It's maybe they're from science background, they're not from the science background, the patient's family, everybody is eligible to report any kind of adverse drug reaction to the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, that is in Ghaziabad, National Coordination Center, right? And that is very important part. And in the same way, like the pharmacovigilance metro vigilance program of India is there. And I'm running a bit of fast in the lecture because I have just 1 hour of time, so I'm just having the quick overview briefing of all these things. So metro vigilance program of India is also there. So just like your medications or drugs are formulated and they need the proper vigilance, right, pre-marketing and post-marketing, in the same way in MVPI, your devices, the medical devices like your MRI machines, ECG machines, your glucose detector machines, every machine which is being used in the diagnosis or cases or treatment cases, that is also under the Metro Vigilance Program of India. That means taking the safety of the medical devices also, right? So it is also under the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. So because so many malfunctions has been there, like babies incubators are in the hospitals when the baby is born, and to keep them warm, the incubators are there, right? Sometimes because of the short circuits, the incubators they catch the fire, and certain babies have been burned to death due to the short circuits in the incubators. Or maybe HIV, hip implants are there, it may cause the blood poisoning. Organ transplants are there, maybe dialysis conditions are there, right? Maybe ventilator failures are there. So there, having the effort to ensure the safety of medical devices, the Metro Vigilance Program of India is also there, right? So, right, just like the drug, we have pharmacovigilance. For the medical devices, we have Metro Vigilance. In the same way, for the vaccines, we have vaccine safety surveillance also. Like for drugs, we have pharmacovigilance, medical devices, we have Metro Vigilance, and for vaccines, we have Vaccine Safety Surveillance Program of India, right? So vaccines pharmacovigilance is also there, right? For the proper all the kinds of vaccines, if there is any adverse event following immunizations, after having the vaccinations, if there is any adverse event, it will also be reported. So there are so many things that are there under this particular part, right? And so ultimately there is a huge scope of this, because we need the safe patients, and we need to analyze the complete risk ratio of the medical devices, of the drugs and all, right? And so that we can at least help out the society also in having this particular proper management of the diagnostics or treatment materials, either drugs, either vaccines, or either machines which are there for that diagnostics purpose, right? And when it comes to the career options in this particular field, see, as per the career options, there are so many career options in this particular pharmacovigilance field, as well as in your particular metrovigilance field also, because no pharmaceutical company or your hospitals are without the PV sections, right? Because it is properly supported by the central drug standard control organizations. You can be a drug safety associate, you can be a pharmacovigilance officer, you can be a medical reviewer, you can be a signal detection analyst, or you can be a regulatory affairs associate, right? And eligibility includes B.Pharm, M.Pharm, you can be a pharma, you can be MBBS, you can be a BDS, you can have a life science degree in biotech, micro any fields, right? And your companies like your Cognizant, your Accenture, your Tata Consultancy Services, your IQVIA, Wipro, Parexel, multiple companies are there which are offering jobs for a fresher starting from 2.5 to 5 lakh per annum salaries. And if you are experienced one, you can earn up more than 15 plus, right? And in metro, even in the metro vigilance also, right, you can have the positions of medical device safety associate, you can have the position of vigilance officers, you can have position of complaint handling specialist, you can have a positions of quality and regulatory executives. You should be having a good knowledge of quality control regulations, risk assessments, documentation skills. You should having a good knowledge of drugs and side effects. You should be having a good communication. You should be well versed with certain medical terminologies. You should know the basic data analysis, right? So once you know all of these things, you can get good jobs. And pharmacovigilance has more jobs because it is well established. Metro vigilance has jobs, but it's emerging field, so there is less competition. But in terms of job for the current times, pharmacovigilance is on the top. It has more jobs because it is well established, right? So you can take a you're already pursuing a degree, you complete your degrees, you can take short courses in PV and clinical research. You should learn some of the important tools, like medical coding is one of the very important tool in pharmacovigilance, right? Like MedDRA dictionaries and all are the Argus softwares are there, case processing are there. So these tools are very important parts of this, right? And you can apply for internships or fresher roles in these fields, right? And it has a high demand globally in India as well as US, UK, Europe. This is one of the it's a stable pharma career, even without the lab work in some cases, right? So pharmacovigilance is one of the best options right now, right? And even if okay, there's one question from Sahil from biotech field. How we get jobs in this field, right? If you're from the biotech field and you want a specifically job in pharmacovigilance, so yes, you have this. Again, you have a good opportunity to get the job in this particular field. And why I'm saying that, because you have the background advantage. When you have a degree in biotechnology, you have good knowledge of biology, you have knowledge about disease, you know the drugs, because biotech includes immunology, biochemistry, medical lab technology. You have knowledge, you have molecular biology in your course curriculum, you have micro in your course curriculum, you have the cell biology in your course curriculum, you have the anatomy subject in your course curriculums, right? So even you learn the clinical research basics also, right? So that's a strong foundation for pharmacovigilance. And yes, some gap skills are there which you need to fulfill, like you should know about adverse drug reactions and majority of instrumentations. If you know, if any drug has caused any side effect, right, how you will diagnose it out that this is the side effect or this is the adverse drug reaction? You will do some of the laboratory testings. That is very integral part. If you know that, if you want to see that liver has been affected, you will go for LFT. You will run a biochemistry machine, you will do the complete liver profiling, you will interpret the data, and you'll say that okay, this is a case of ADR because of the medication. So analytical techniques are part of the biotech. So that is very important part, right? But some gap skills are there, like ADR, you should be knowing well, drug safety reporting, you should be knowing, right? Case processing, you should be knowing, signal detection basics, you should be knowing, right? And some of the tools and systems should be there. So a biotech person can enter into this field, right? What will be covered in this course? Med DRA, will it be included in this? See, Med, yes. Basically, the pharmacovigilance, Med DRA, if you want to study medical codings and medical dictionaries, right? It's itself a big course, huge course, right? In pharmacovigilance, we require med DRA because it's one of the very integral part of this. Because for the pharmacovigilance, you should be knowing a proper coding and classifications of ADRs, right? Because you should be knowing about the universal medical dictionary. So it, because it will only ensure the uniform reporting of the side effect or the ADR is there worldwide, right? So it is very important for the data analysis and signal detection as well, right? So in pharmacovigilance department, med DRA is very important part, right? Because how the different medication disease or disorders are categorized. Because if a layman has reported a, the case report on the adverse drug reaction form, and there is one person who is basically the doctor who has reported, how you will distinguish between the original and because so many miscellaneous reports are submitted throughout the world every day, 10 to 15 hundreds of reports are miscellaneous, which may be random, which may do not have any connections with the real ADR cases. So to distinguish between that, a proper medical coding should be known to the pharmacovigilance people, and that is a gap skill. Some opt for the specific degree courses, diploma courses, and some may have should have at least the skill that they understand this, they know that, and once you are into that field, when you are doing the continuous practice, you get the experience, you will be well versed with that particular part, right? Okay, there's one more question. For becoming a medical investigator, being a pharma, what about becoming a medical investigator, being a B.Pharm graduate? Okay, so if you are a B.Pharm graduate, or maybe you are still pursuing your, this B.Pharma field, and you want to go for this particular positions of a medical investigator in any of the fields related to your choice or any companies on hand. So technically, this particular degree, B.Pharm, it is making you, eligible for being the medical or drug safety investigator. But it's basically usually a direct entry role. Like you typically move into it, after gaining some experience in the pharmacovigilance, because a medical investigator is basically, uh, you- it is they're responsible for reviewing the drug adverse drug reactions and all, or casualties and all, or you have to write a medical narrative, right? So in that case, after B.Pharma, you can start as a, as a drug safety associate, because you need the experience. You can, because this is a responsibility. If you have to review adverse drug reaction case, you should be having a great experience that how you will distinguish between a real ADR case or just a side effect case, right? So that means for that particular part, you should be having a typical progression, starting as a maybe a drug safety associate, getting the experience, or PV case processor, gaining the 2 to 4 years of experience, and then you can move to the medical reviewer or the investigator role, right? So B Pharma is a qualification, and higher advantages you having a M.Pharm or PharmD, or PhDs and all, because you should be having a strong knowledge of drugs and disease, ADR assessment, and medical writing, which will come from the experience only, right? So yes, you can go for this particular position, Seema, but you need a bit of experience also, so that you get fit into that particular positions, right? And pharmacovigilance, again, because it is about the ADR assessment, adverse drug reaction assessment. So when it is adverse drug reaction, the pharmacovigilance is directly a connection, right? If you want to assess the casualty, is the drug responsible for this particular case? Pharmacovigilance is there. When you write the medical narratives, right? When you ensure the patient safety for with the drugs, it is the this role is a key part of the pharmacovigilance only, right? Yes, if you opt for this particular pharmacovigilance, med DRA will be the part, right? Because today was just an overview and some revisions and all were there, but there's a proper course curriculum for this particular field, right? There's a whole session, ADRs, what are ADRs, what is role of regulatory affairs, what are clinical trials and all. Everything is there, right? So for that part, so many different sections are there. The study, these particular fields are structured well, and then based on that only we get into the depth of this pharmacovigilance. So in this course, there will be so many things that will be taught, and so many courses are also being launched in the coming May also. There are so many sessions which are being launched by the Learn to Upgrade only, and you can choose these specific fields accordingly, right? Just a second, huh? There are some of the specific sessions that are being going to start from this May only, by the particular Learn to Upgrade only. So just give me a second. I'll tell you some of the dates which are part of that. Just, just give me a second. I'll share some of the important dates with you all. I'm just typing in the chat box as well so that you can get to know that what are some of the specific dates. So, from 15 May onwards, some of the courses are there. Like forensic sciences are there. Forensic sciences starting from 10th of May. Pharmacovigilance, this is a specific field which the session we took today. It is starting from 15 May, right? And then clinical research sessions are also there. Then medical coding is also there. Medical coding is starting from 20th of May. So you can also communicate with the coordinator because I'm a resource person for the Learn to Upgrade, but you can directly communicate with the administration of the Learn to Upgrade for these sessions, like whatever you want to enroll. So this medical coding session specifically, it is starting from the 20th of May. So if you want this particular course, you can opt for this particular course. If you want to opt for the pharmacovigilance, it is starting from the 15th May itself. And if you want to opt for the forensic sciences, it is starting from 10th of May. It is going to be started from 10th of May. And uh, other courses are also there, and the registration deadlines are up to 30th of April also, and batch will be starting in May only. So you can communicate with the the Learn to Upgrade administration if you're interested in any of these courses, right? And for the pharmacovigilance and clinical research sessions, I'll be there, the resource person for that. For medical codings and all, some other faculties are also there who will be taking the session. So accordingly, you can opt for your interested fields, right? So that is all from my side. If there are any queries still there, you're most welcome to ask. That's all from my side. Thank you so much. So thank you. I guess no queries are there. And still, if you have any queries, you can communicate with the administration of Learn to Upgrade. Thank you so much. Have a very good evening. Wish you the best.
Thank you, ma'am.